Hey guys, it's Max. This is my video on the A6500. Now, the announcements were just made earlier today. I've been studying up and talking to people that have had their hands on that camera. And so I want to let you know, before going into this video, I do not have the camera in hand. I have not played with it. This is just talking about the specs, talking about more info that I found out from research and talking to people that have used the camera. The full review will be coming up. So I know some people don't like watching these kind of videos. They just like watching full reviews. Obviously the camera hasn't came out. It was just announced. There's not a ton of info other than what Sony released. So this is this style of video, me talking about the specs, talking about possibilities with the camera, possible downsides. I have a lot of experience with Sony cameras, so I'm going to come from that direction. I have a lot of experience with a lot of different cameras actually. So if you're one of, say, about 15% of my audience that doesn't like these kind of videos, please just turn it off and don't watch it. If you're somebody that wants to hear the news, wants to hear somebody who's experienced with these cameras talk about the new additions and what matters and what doesn't, and some kind of possibilities. I know a lot of people care about that. I enjoy watching those kind of videos. Then you guys keep watching this video. So before I get more into it, I do have a A6500 group on Facebook. So it's a community of people who are going to buy the camera and that are going to be talking about it, sharing advice, stuff like that. So it's great to be a part of that type of community. So in the description, there's going to be a link where you guys can go ahead and join. And this video is going to be focused on the video side, since that's what I typically do. I don't do very much photography, at least professionally anymore. I stick to video as my profession. If you want to know more features specifically on photography and more about that side of it, Tony Northrup has a great video. I'll have a link in the video description, so go and check that out. Lots of great info, and he's super experienced in that field. So before I get into it even more so, I want to let you guys know, for those of you guys that are interested in this camera, this is shot with the Fuji X-T2, which I'll have a review out on it shortly. Very impressive camera, especially on the video side. It definitely went beyond my expectations. Also using a Rode wireless microphone kit plugged straight into that camera. So I'll have links to both those in the video description below. And this is also an autofocus, so you guys can see how it performs. So with that said, let's get into it. So I was actually invited to the press conference a few weeks ago, but I was not able to make it over there. And so I watched a live stream this morning, and 2 out of the 3 things that I really wish the A6300 did better or had were announced with this new updated camera, this addition to their mirrorless line. One of them really even made me jump out of my seat because I wasn't expecting it, actually, even though I wanted it. So before I mention those, let's just take a look at the camera. I want to start out with the body. So it's very similar to the A6300 to the A6000. Sony has slowly been changing it. I wish they kind of revamped, gave some better controls, especially a front shutter dial would be awesome, maybe a little bit larger to dissipate some of that heat, but they've made a little bit of improvements. They haven't done a total changeover. So looking here, it looks almost the same. Really, it looks the same, but if you quickly change between these two, you'll notice that the grip is actually shifted over. It's a little bit skinnier, and it's shifted over a little bit from the A6300. Now this is great because the grip here, especially if you're using a bigger lens with the A6300, there's not a lot of room. Now I actually second shot a wedding doing photography with this camera, and my fingers were just really tired just because there's not a lot of room here. So just the fact that it's moved over a little bit and the shape has changed is really, if you're doing photos, it's great, and even with video, it's nice to have. So the front hasn't changed a lot, and let's take a look from the top. Now here, going back and forth, you really see the difference in the grip shape. You have a little bit more room for your fingers there, and it's skinnier and a little bit longer going out. So that's great. It's definitely going to help. Now you notice the custom 1 button has been moved over to the top of the camera, and they have a custom 2 button in addition to that. That's great. Maybe they could have left another one by the shutter button there, but one extra is better than nothing. So, and looking from the bottom, you notice that shape of the grip has changed quite a bit, so that's great. And then we have the SD and battery cover has also changed a bit. So body hasn't changed a lot, but they do have some improvements I would have loved, and I think most people who use this camera, at least professionals, would love front little dial here for the shutter, but that is not there. Now the next thing, in-body image stabilization. Now this is huge. For photographers it's great, but for people who shoot video, it's just such a big help. And this is one thing I've been really waiting on, and I'm so glad that they're putting this in here. I love the Sigma lenses. I love the 18 to 35 and then now this new 50 to 100 1.8, super sharp. A great image and really usable focal length, but they don't have image stabilizer. So having that in-body image stabilization solves that problem for these zooms that don't have image stabilization, and all the primes are available that you can have those stabilized now. And in-body image stabilization is actually better, more efficient than lens stabilization. It has more movement to it. So I'm very happy, very excited for that. And using this guy at 100, I mean, even on a monopod, you see a little bit of movements. Any small movement at that 150 full frame equivalent, you notice. So it's just going to smooth everything out, and that's fantastic. I'm glad. I think even this alone would be worth upgrading if you're a video shooter for this in-body image stabilization. So there's a photo. You guys see how that all the different axes, the movements. And here's something else they added in. It works with E-mounts, A-mounts with adapters, and also third-party adapters and other lenses, just like I'm using here. I have the Sigma adapter with the Sigma 50 to 100 1.8 lens. Great. This is awesome. Next thing is touchscreen. Now this is what actually made me like jump out of my seat. I was shocked. The engineers at Sony don't like touchscreens. They did not want to put touchscreens in their cameras, in the pro level cameras. They thought it was just a novice feature, along with a lot of professional photographers. They don't like it. Now slowly people are being converted. Most of the people who review cameras have changed their minds and they want every camera to have a touchscreen. I want every camera to have a touchscreen, at least with the option to turn it off for those that don't want it. But it's super helpful. It's very useful. And at the Miami event, they had engineers there that actually create these cameras to listen to feedback and to answer questions and stuff like that. And so I actually walked up to anybody that would listen, and I would just be telling them about, check out this Panasonic G7. You can look through the viewfinder and you can use your thumb to select and change your autofocusing point. And they were actually surprised. They were shocked. A lot of them were like, wow, that is a great feature. I let them try it out and I'm like, hey, literally see this. And so when I saw the touchscreen and I like jumped out, I'm like, yes, this is gonna be so great because the camera does great autofocusing and it's so great to be able to use the video autofocus with the touchscreen. But it was just really cool to see that they actually listened. I thought maybe they just sent them there just to make people feel better, but they're just going to do what they want. But to see something that was requested personally, and in general, multiple people asked at least about having a touchscreen, and now it's here, is fantastic. So as you guys see here, you could just touch and change your autofocus point if you're looking through the viewfinder. That is great. I'm very happy that that's included. Now, a negative. So DP Review, Richard Butler actually posted that the touchscreen is solely used to set the autofocus point with no option to control settings or navigate the menus. This sucks. I think it's just much faster than having to scroll through the different settings or go down to literally just touch what you want. It's super helpful in the cameras that are out that use that. Everybody that has tried it on the new Canons, they love it. I haven't heard people complain about it. So this can be fixed with a firmware update. Hopefully they do that. Now this other thing is probably even more so of a disappointment. It says the touch to focus ability extends to video mode and video focus speed and can be adjusted to provide slow, smooth autofocus pulls. So do rack focusing with touches. That's great. However, the camera won't touch and track in video mode, only the older center lock-on autofocus system that locks onto the subject at the center of the frame. This is a huge disappointment. This camera is great at video autofocusing. It could track objects well, and having the touchscreen be able to touch on something and having it track that is so convenient. Now I have a couple NX1s here, and these are 2-year-old cameras, and the ability, one scenario is a bride walking down the aisle, the ability to just touch on her face and have the camera smoothly and perfectly track the bride walking down the aisle. And that's what the firmware update improved that. But with the latest firmware updates, it's just so perfect and smooth. It does a better job than any person with a long lens with shallow depth of field can track as a bride walks from a really far distance to really close up. It's really hard to keep her perfectly in focus the whole time, and that function really does it. So I think they really need to implement this, hopefully through a firmware update, because just being able to tap on, let's say, your kid, you're just, an amateur or enthusiast, and have it track the child as it runs, the child runs around. I think that's just super useful, super helpful, and just they really need to have it, my personal opinion, especially now that they have a touchscreen. So another thing I want to mention is this rear LCD is the worst LCD screen, if you include the A6000, out of any of the Sony cameras. The Sony LCD screens aren't great compared to others, and this is the worst. It's very, very reflective. You can't even use it outside, especially in the video mode. So in photo mode, you can put it up, and I talk about this in my review too, sunny mode. It really kicks up the brightness, but when you go into video mode, it can't even do like the halfway brightness. It locks it out, it gets very dim, and that along with this reflective screen, the cover on the screen, it's just impossible to use. I do use it outside. I just use the zebra stripes for exposure. A lot of times I can barely see what I'm framing. If I have the option to use the EVF, if it's not on some rig or something like that, then I will do that. But hopefully, along with this touchscreen, they actually improve the brightness or the reflectivity or something with the LCD screen. And I have no idea why it locks it out. I think it's just not enough power to do that 4K processing and to be able to keep the screen at maximum brightness. So hopefully that somehow gets fixed. So the next thing I want to talk about is the sensor and processor. Now it has the same exact sensor as the A6300, which is great. It's a fantastic sensor, the best, probably the best APS-C sensor on the market. But it has the same processor, the Bionz X processor, but has an addition of a LSI processor, which is kind of between the Bionz X processor and between the sensor. Now this is supposed to improve the buffer and the preview. So the buffer is much improved, over 100 raw images, over 300 JPEGs. This is great, and the preview is being sped up as well. So one of the big issues I had when I second shot photography for a wedding is I would do a series of shots and want to check them, and then I would hit the play button and it would just say camera busy, and you'd just be waiting and waiting. And that's actually the biggest problem. I've talked to multiple people who own A7R2s. They love the cameras, but for wedding photography, it's just too slow. You can't check your images. So this is solving it. The A99II has it. Now this is having, I'm sure the future Sony cameras are going to have that as well. So one thing we don't know is if it's going to relieve any processing duties from the Bionz X processor that's in the A6300 and also in the A7R2 and a lot of their cameras. One thing that Sony did mention is the new front-end LSI also serves to enhance both still and video image quality. This is directly from the information that Sony sent out to the press. So if it's somehow increasing still and video image quality, it means it's taking some of the processing away from the Bionz X processor. What that means is that processor won't be maxed out, because in 4K video, at 24 FPS, it literally is maxed out. And when you're maxing out a processor, it creates a ton of heat, which means the camera is going to heat up faster. That's why the camera doesn't heat up and overheat in the 1080p video recording, but it does in 4K. That processor is just being put to the max and putting out a ton of heat, just like in a computer. In a computer, the hottest thing is your processor, especially when you're running it at max levels. So if it's somehow relieving something, some duties, that could potentially help in two ways. One is the heat. It could have longer recording times in 4K, or possibly, and this is doubtful, solve the overheating issues, but it could potentially change it from a 20-minute 4K camera to, say, maybe an hour. That would be definitely a huge improvement for the majority of shooters that like to do long clips, even like something that I'm shooting right now with the XT2. And another thing is the rolling shutter. The rolling shutter is pretty bad because it literally it takes longer to read all that data and process it down. So if it doesn't have to do everything at once, if it's only having to encode the video and it's able to read the data faster from the sensor, meaning less rolling shutter. So we have no idea about this. This is just theoretical how processors work and how cameras work. So just something that I'm interested in and I'm going to be testing. The menus did get redesigned. Not a huge difference. They just moved some things around, which is helpful because some of the stuff really didn't make sense, how it's split up in different sections when it should be side by side. So there were some updates there. Also, slow motion at 1080p. They already had this function, but before it was just a 120 FPS file that you had to slow down yourself. Now you have the option of having the camera conform the video in camera and to give you a video clip that's already slow. And along with that, you can actually choose between 1 FPS FPS to 120 FPS. So if you want to fine tune something, and then you can have the camera either slow it down up to 5 times slower, so from 120 to 24 FPS, or you can actually go up to 60 times faster. So let's say you want to do like a video time lapse, you're recording for a half hour if the camera doesn't overheat in 4K, but you're recording for a long time and then you're having it speed up. So instead of having a huge file, a half-hour file, you get a 1-minute video time lapse. So definitely something that is useful. So to finish this off, let's talk about the release date and the price. So the release date is November, which is likely probably middle to end of November if it doesn't get pushed back, $1,400. So I'm very happy about the price. I think a $400 increase over the A6300 to get that touchscreen and the built-in image stabilization and the huge buffer and other photo improvements are definitely worth it if you're serious about photography. And this is in addition to the A6000 and the A6300. It's not replacing it. This is just going to be their currently high-end camera. Now, a lot of people, if you read through the comments, are just upset. They're like, hey, I bought an A6300 8 months ago when it launched, or I bought one 1 month ago, or even somebody said, I literally just bought one, and now they're mad. I don't understand that very much because if you've been following Sony over the last 3 years, you know as soon as they have better tech, as soon as they push the limit, they put that out. And that's getting attention of a lot of people. It's getting a lot of people switching over instead of somebody like Canon, who's only putting out old technology out, which works well and doesn't overheat. It's tested, but it's old. People waited 3-4 years for the 5D Mark IV, and then they're underwhelmed. And then Sony puts out something that just steps it up even more so. So if you know Sony, you know this is what they do. Now, the camera's not replacing the A6300, so you're not losing value. If this camera replaced it, of course your resale value is going to tank because it's an outdated model, but it's not. So if you buy your camera and it does well for you, just enjoy it. You're going to use it for a couple of years and it's going to be worth almost nothing at that point. It's only $1,000 camera, and the Pro, if you shoot professionally, if you make money on what you do, that's really nothing. So just enjoy your camera and forget about it if you don't need it. Now, if you want the extra features, be happy because they're there. So that's my opinion to it. So I'm not totally happy. I mentioned something earlier is I want an A7000. I want a camera like this with a smaller sensor that's going to compete with a D500 and a 7D Mark II. It's going to be a little bit larger, going to be a little bit more comfortable, actually comfortable in your hands to use. It can heat is not going to be an issue because the camera is big enough, a lot more room for that heat to dissipate and not get too hot in certain spots, and better battery life, possibly stuff like that. Something that is great, just like this camera, just a better, more professional version of that. So that's what I'm hoping for, but I'm going to have one of these on order. I'm definitely going to pick one up and probably replace the 6300, possibly go with multiple versions of those if they don't overheat. So there it is, guys. Hopefully this video has been helpful and informative. Once again, I have that link to the A6500 user group on Facebook. You guys can be part of that community. Once again, if you're interested on the photo side, go check out Tony Northrup's video. It's excellent. I'll have a link to that in the video description. And if you guys have any questions or comments, anything like that, you guys can put those in the video comments section below. So thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to get my hands on this camera and do a full review for you guys and compare it to this model here. And I will see you in the next video.